Microphone check, test 1, test 2. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello there. Funny. Microphone. Microphone man.
There you go. Funny microphone man. That's you.
Funny. Monkey.
You set foot on foreign soil. Only this land isn't ruled by any country or government. In this land, we celebrate music. In this land, we celebrate games. In this land, we celebrate those who compose video game music. Welcome to the VGMbassy. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the VGMbassy. This is a show centered around video game music and the amazing online community of fans and podcasters that enjoy it. My name's Ed, and on each episode I'll take the role of Prime VGM Minister and invite a guest VG Ambassador onto the show to share with us their own video game music culture. Or I may share a part of my culture on a solo show. Welcome, one and all, to episode 97. We're getting so close to episode 100. This is a special episode because we have back with us one of the youngest VG ambassadors, probably the youngest VG ambassador ever to be featured on a VGM podcast, and that would be my youngest kiddo, Logan. Hi, Logan.
Woo, what's up?
How you doing?
Good.
You have been very excited about this.
Yeah, for a bit now.
I remember you... Well, it came to me probably September-ish?
I think it was like the second week of September I requested this.
Yeah. You had found some really good music and you wanted to share it, and I said, cool, let's do it. And then we got sidetracked for a different October episode because it was a little more Halloween-y. This episode could be a kind of a Halloween-y episode, but...
Because, Undertale is full of monsters.
Exactly. So speaking of Undertale, what's our topic today?
We got the Undertale multiverse.
Undertale multiverse. What is that?
It's just a bunch of fan-created games about the hit game Undertale.
Pretty crazy. I didn't even know it existed. Like, I knew that lots of remixes of the Undertale soundtrack existed, but I didn't know there were, like, remixes and different versions of the actual game itself. So that's pretty darn cool. A quick beginner course for those of you not familiar with Undertale. It's a 2D pixel art game released way back in September of 2015. You were 4 years old at that point, and completely written, programmed, and the music was scored by one Toby Fox, and all of the graphics, most of the graphics and character artwork were by Temmie Chang. So between the two of them, they created this entire game in Game Maker, which is like a retail available video game building engine, and it got super popular. Why do you think it's so popular?
Probably just because, first of all, the good soundtrack from it. Mm-hmm. The music in it is just a whole nother level for a pixel game.
Agreed.
But second, also probably because of the relatable characters in it.
Yeah. What do you like about the characters? Like, are they just written well, or?
Well, their personality is just on point with what they look like.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a lot of characters in there that are very vulnerable. Like, they have faults, and they learn how to overcome them, and they're compassionate towards one another. There's a lot of diversity in the characters as well. And like I said, the music is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best soundtracks to a video game, I think, ever made, regardless of whether it's pixel art or otherwise. And that will show through in a lot of the music that we've picked for this episode. Some of them are remixes or have kind of callbacks to the original Undertale soundtrack. And some of it is just completely original music written by these composers that we're going to feature. A lot of composers that I don't think have ever been featured on VGM podcasts before. I don't think the Undertale multiverse has ever been explored on a podcast like this, so I'm really excited to get into it. How did you discover Undertale, and then how did you discover the multiverse?
Well, I discovered Undertale as the well-known Funny Bone Man, also known as Sans the Skeleton. He is probably the most known character from the game, so I basically traced him back to Undertale.
Gotcha. And where did you find Sans?
Just on the internet, just being him.
Just memes?
Yeah.
Memes and YouTube shorts and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fan animations and stuff featuring Sans, and he's a crazy, mischievous guy, so he works well in a lot of comedy YouTube shorts. So you basically, really like the character, and then we're like, oh, where's Sans from? And started doing some research on it?
Yeah.
Sweet. I like that a lot. And so you've played Undertale, right?
Yeah. I'm going through it, piece by piece right now. I can't seem to get past Undyne. I'm trying to do a neutral run.
Well, maybe I can help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played through it myself. I played through it, when it first came out, so September of 2015. Maybe not September, but when it came out and got really, really big and people started talking about how awesome it was, that's when I decided I would give it a playthrough. And I only played through it once, and I haven't touched it since then. I did remember it was really, really awesome. So some of these characters you might be more familiar with than me, but I think it'll be a lot of fun to go through them. So we've got 10 selections from, each one is from a different Undertale alternate universe. They're called, multiverse, alternate universe, other reality, whatever you want to call them. People call them different things.
There's just a bunch of names for all of these. Some are even just kind of odd.
Yeah. And some of them are video games. Some of them are webcomics that kind of have soundtracks that go along with the webcomics and might not necessarily be a video game, but I think the majority of them are actual games that you can download and play. Usually they're free as far as I know, because you're using assets from the Undertale games.
Yeah,
along with
you have to
new art.
own the game before you can actually play it, because they're technically community made, which also uses most assets from the original game.
Oh, okay.
You have to have the...
So they're mods, basically.
Yeah.
Understood. I didn't know that. I thought most of them were standalone games.
Some are.
Okay, cool. I guess with Game Maker that makes sense, because you can easily just make a new Game Maker pack and kind of add it on to the original game. Very, very cool. All right, so we're going to listen to a track from a composer named Robin Blend. This came out in 2017 from an alternate Undertale called Altertale, which makes a lot of sense.
Fitting name. Very.
And this is the Dynami V2 Nitro remix, originally composed by Robin Blend, but remixed by Nick Nitro. We'll be right back. All right, that was the Dynami V2 Nitro remix from Undertale, released in 2017, composed by Robin Blend and remixed by Nick Nitro. Pretty cool tune.
Yeah.
This is one of the first tracks that you sent me, so you must have been super excited to play it on the show.
Yeah. This one is pretty good. I believe it's the one where you fight Sans.
So it's based on the tune that plays when you fight Sans in the original Undertale, right? But it's a remix of that?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what I've gathered from this is that there's one called Underswap where characters are swapped with their opposite counterparts, but this one only swapped 6 with each other.
Yeah,
So.
right. So it's essentially the same story, the same map. The character follows the same kind of progression, but characters are swapped and their personalities are swapped too. So while the things the character says might convey the same concept, it's done in a different character's personality because it's rewritten to be what they are like.
Yeah.
So snarky with shy and bold with, sad or happy or something like that. So it's pretty cool how they did that, where you can kind of it's almost like a new game plus, where after you beat the Undertale, you can go through this one and kind of see how things might be different if different characters were taking on different roles in the game. I really do like this tune though because it's very dancey, but it's also got some really cool rock guitar, and then that main kind of melody lead, dun da 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 dun da 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 da, like that's based on the Sans fight theme in the original Undertale.
Yeah. I believe this is the one where you fight Sans in the ruins because Toriel and Sans were swapped. The rest was Asgore swaps with Papyrus, and Gaster, who some of you may not know, swapped with Azrael, which is the final boss in the Pacifist run.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to even meet Gaster until you've played it once through and then tried a Pacifist run on the second round, and did it successfully. That's pretty freaking cool, man. Imagine dropping into the Undertale world and Sans is the first person you meet instead of Toriel.
Just... if I was playing the original game and I saw that, I would Alt F4 immediately.
This isn't gonna work out. This is my welcome?
What am I doing? Am I playing a randomizer mod?
That is freaky deaky. A little bit about the composers. Robin Blend is an electronic composer. Her real name is Penelope Newhar, and she's from the United States. She wrote a lot of the music for the original Undertale game, and then she's also got some fan music. She's got some covers of things. She's got some Sonic music in there. She's got a song called I Hate Robin. It was from Robin Shreddage to Robin Blend. I guess two different artists named Robin were having a fake feud with each other, so that's where that came from. But I will have links to these composers, whether they have a SoundCloud, a YouTube channel, a Bandcamp. I will put their links underneath each of these songs in the show notes. So if you're interested in a certain composer's style, want to hear more from that particular soundtrack, you can go to the VGMbassy.com and look for this show, episode 97, and you can find links to all of their stuff. Especially Bandcamp, if you really like their stuff, you can always usually purchase the album that includes the particular song that this is from. Usually if they do a soundtrack to a complete alternate universe game, they will have that soundtrack on Bandcamp too. All right, what do you say we move on to our next track?
Let's go. All right, so we have Black Apple from Underverse from 2020, composed by Nyx the Shield.
Okay, yeah, this is Nightmare Sans theme.
And we're back. So that was Black Apple from Underverse, made in 2020, composed by Nyx the Shield.
This is a cool one.
I gotta say, this one, I watched the entirety of Season 1 of Underverse, and if you haven't watched it already, I highly recommend you go check it out.
What's it about?
So the plot of it is, well, spoiler alert, basically Cross, which is from another AU, which I'm not sure if is an actual game or not, but Cross met Ink Sans, who was... Ink Sans is the keeper of all AUs.
Uh-huh.
And he saw one that was almost entirely erased apart from that one version. Cross is from a different AU called X-Tail, which... X-Tail is just basically is Underfell, which is a different one that we're going to introduce soon. Underfell is just all shady and sadistic, basically.
So it sounds like the more you explain, the more you have to explain.
Yeah, basically. There's just so much going on in Underverse.
So it's a very meta kind of it recognizes all of the other alternate universes and kind of tries to bind them together in a way. So I remember like Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U, which was a game which took like all of the different Zelda universes and kind of all the characters kind of stepped through a portal and met each other and kind of went on this adventure together. So this is kind of similar to that, I guess?
Yes. Long story short. Because it's just so long. Cross causes a bit of chaos, trying to get his world back together, but also leaving other worlds in ruins. So basically, Ink and Error have to team up to, like, help. They've come across the original Undertale Sans, Underfell Sans, and Underswap Sans.
Oh, okay, so 3 different versions of Sans hanging out.
Yes, along with Ink and Error. Error is the destroyer of AUs, which sounds bad, but he destroys AUs that are no longer relevant.
Okay, it's kind of like abandoned ones that the creators aren't working on anymore.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
And Ink is the protector of the ones that are being made.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I found this little blurb on tvtropes.org that says, Underverse is a webcomic turned web animation based off of the video game Undertale and a Tumblr webcomic called Crosstail, or X-Tail, depending on how you want to say it. Created by Hale Peñalosa, a.k.a. Jackie. Though the series started as a webcomic with Sans and Ink Sans going after X-Tail's Kara/Cross after they take half of Sans' soul to sustain themselves, things start spiraling from there. And I'm sure the thing spiraling from there is a lot of the stuff that you just explained to us.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. There is so much going on in these AUs that I am glad that you know at least a little bit of it, because from an outsider, it's very confusing. But you get a lot of good music out of it. I really liked this one. This had a really kind of a Castlevania churchy kind of feel to it. Lots of choirs and church organs. What'd you think of this one?
It just goes all out with basically everything you just said.
Yeah. A lot of these songs are really, really powerful, and they feel like kind of like boss themes. And that's a lot of the stuff that you picked for this show. Is that are the battle themes some of your favorite tunes from soundtracks? I don't blame you. They're some of my favorite tunes as well. Plus, I'm sure you get to hear them quite a bit, because if you fail the battle, then you have to play it over and over again.
Yeah. But also, this is Nightmare Sans' theme, which is... Well, there's lore about him. So, basically, if you're Christian, you know Adam and Eve with, like, the garden with apples, basically. So,
right.
Before there was Dream and Past Nightmare. Past Nightmare is a normal version of Sans that relies on negativity, while Dream relies on happiness.
Okay.
So, Nightmare broke one of the rules, surprisingly, and ate one of the apples and turned into this inky mess, which can take control of other monsters.
Okay. All right, makes sense. And then, so that kind of built, the lore of the universe was kind of built off of that.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Crazy stuff. So this is one of those ones that isn't a video game at all, right? It's just like a web series based on the video game.
Yeah.
Cool. And I like this one. It's a long tune. It's got a very cool end where it just kind of gets really, really powerful and then kind of fades off into the distance. Nix the Shield's real name is Felipe Montero. He's from Santiago, Chile. Not too much in their bio. All the bio says is, sometimes I make music. But they've made music for the Toho series, obviously the Underverse, a remix of some Pizza Tower stuff. I heard Pizza Tower is really, really good. Some Deltarune stuff, some remixes. So very, very into the Undertale AUs. Has done remixes of the original soundtracks, plus created some original music for the Underverse. Very super cool. Let's move on to track number 3. We've got Phase 1, Now You'll Never Leave, from VHS Sans, which was released in 2023. This was composed by I Am a Boss Zero. Did I get that right?
It's just Phase 1, also known as Now You'll Never Leave.
Oh, okay. Whew, that was a mouthful. All right, well, let's take a listen, and we'll be back.
Welcome back. That was Phase 1, Now You'll Never Leave, from VHS Sans 2023, composed by I Am a Boss Zero.
Yeah, and this is from an AU called The Hacker's End. And I guess in the game, you're a hacker who tries to mess with Sans' files in the game, so it's kind of meta. You play as a hacker who's trying to hack Undertale, and you screw up Sans' files, and he becomes VHS Sans, which is kind of like this analog horror version of Sans. And so when you fight him, this is stage 1 of his fight, which sounds a little bit like Megalovania, but gets really cool.
Ever heard of Sonic.exe?
Of course.
Well, this is the Undertale version of it.
Oh.
Sonic.exe was originally supposed to be a fan game, basically just like this. As in, you're a hacker and you messed up Sonic's code, causing him to be that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with this. You mess up his code, he turns into this just creepy analog horror.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, he looks kind of similar to Sans, except he's got red eyes in Phase 1, and then Phase 2, his mouth gets all, like, drawn and long, and it gets a little creepy. And
eyes are literally... Well, if you can call that blood, but I don't know.
It's kind of like a red aura, like
yeah.
a liquidy aura floating around, and then in the third phase is, like, his eyes are stretched all the way into his mouth. It's, like, really, really, really super creepy looking.
And the crack on the top of his head is literally going into both of his eyes.
Yeah. So they really kind of messed him up big time.
Yeah.
No, but this song was really cool. It took the Megalovania motif and added some really kind of aggressive electronics, and then I really like how it went like full heavy metal at the end.
Yeah, that's just funny Bone Man moment.
What was your favorite part of the song?
Just the entire thing. It's just all good.
I think it's a real credit to Toby Fox's music that so many people can interpret these melodies in so many different ways. The fact that people can keep coming up with lots of original ideas based on his really, really good melodies means that the songs were really well composed to begin with.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. To folks, if you're not familiar with the Undertale soundtrack, like, go listen to it on YouTube. It's so good. If you want to pause the show and go check out the regular Undertale soundtrack if you're not familiar, do so and come back, and then you can appreciate all of these remixes and remakes just a little bit more. Or finish the show, go listen to the original soundtrack, and then come back and listen to it again. I'm not gonna stop you from listening to me twice.
Neither am I.
Logan might, though.
What? How dare you?
So the song was composed by I Am a Boss Zero. She is 18 years old, according to her SoundCloud account. She's got some cool stuff on SoundCloud as well. A lot of different remixes of the Megalovania track. She did the entire soundtrack to The Hacker's End, which is 13 tracks long. A couple of different versions of different songs that are in there. She did some Five Nights at Freddy Fazbear stuff as well. There's a lot of overlap between composers who work on Undertale AUs and Five Nights at Freddy AUs. I think a lot of people like both of them. They're very Zoomer oriented games, I think. You like one, you tend to like the other. And it's cool. I mean, I can kind of see that a lot of this horror stuff, like Five Nights at Freddy's, is kind of almost analog horror too, because you're looking at those security screens as monsters are coming after you. So I guess if you like that, you kind of like the VHS Sans stuff too. Cool. All right, so let's move on to our next track. We've got Megalo Strikes Back.
It's just Megalo Strike Back.
We've got Megalo Strike Back V3 from Undertale / Striketale.
We can't find the original AU this is from, but I know that it is apart from a different game.
Okay, so maybe while we're listening to the song, we could look up Striketale a little bit. But originally...
if it's a thing.
Yeah, so this is a remix of that song composed by Nick Nitro.
And we're back. That was Megalo Strike Back V3 from 2021 from Undertale. It is not from Striketale. Striketale is a sort of lore theme for something or game, I don't know. But it's definitely not part of that. It was composed by Toby Fox for a
Earthbound fan album.
Yes.
Called Earthbound I Miss You.
Yeah.
And so Nick Nitro did a remix of that song in 2021. But Megalo Strike Back, Toby Fox said that it was composed as a sequel to Megalovania, which was a song that was on the Undertale soundtrack.
Which is Sans' fight theme.
Right. So he wrote a song that was a sequel to a song from one of his games on an album that was a tribute to a game that inspired Undertale.
That's just meta.
This is why I'm glad I have you here, because you can help me make sense of all this stuff.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the Toby Fox version does sound pretty similar to it. This just kind of has Nick Nitro's signature dancey, guitar-y background beat underneath the melody that Toby Fox wrote for Megalo Strike Back.
I wouldn't blame someone if they use this at a rave.
No, not at all. I mean, this sounds like you could play it at any sort of a dance club.
Yeah.
Or just in your car with the subwoofer turned all the way up. Boof, 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 boof.
Just the heavy bass.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know anything about Earthbound?
I know that it's a 2D pixel game.
Yeah.
I believe it was released somewhere in the early 2000s.
The 90s. It's a Super Nintendo game.
Ah,
And
makes sense.
it's an RPG that's kind of similar to Undertale. You're a bunch of kids that go on an adventure through these weird kind of cartoony towns. You fight kind of normal everyday objects along the way. And Toby Fox grew up really, really liking the game, and he started making some Earthbound ROM hacks. So basically hacking the SNES code and creating his own kind of stories for the Earthbound game, and also writing his own music for those games as well. So when he created Undertale, it was very much inspired by Earthbound and the kind of mood and how all the characters interact with each other, and he used all the stuff that he learned creating music for the Earthbound hacks to write the music for Undertale. So when he contributes to an album called Earthbound I Miss You, that's probably because he really does miss Earthbound.
I don't think there's any other, sequel to Earthbound. I think it was just the one game, was it?
Yeah, there was... Well, it never came out in America.
Oh.
So, Earthbound is technically called the Mother series in Japan. So there was Mother on the original Nintendo, and then Mother 2 was released on the Super Nintendo, but came out in the United States as Earthbound. And then there was another game for the Game Boy Advance, which came out called Mother 3, but that never came out officially in English-speaking countries, and so there's a fan translation of Mother 3 for the Game Boy Advance that you can get, which I have played through and is so good. I think you would really like it if you played it. It's probably more like Undertale than Earthbound is, but it has a lot of really good storylines and good moments in it too, and really, really good soundtrack. One of my favorite soundtracks of all time. So, if you're ever interested and you borrow my 3DS all the time anyway, you can put Mother 3 on there and you can check it out if you want. Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so this song was great. Nick Nitro has a bunch of Undertale-related tunes all around the internet. I think we talked about him a little bit. Yeah, we talked about him because he did the Nick Nitro remix of the Dynamic V2 Nitro remix. Yeah, that was part of his stuff. All right, so I think that's the last Nick Nitro piece we have for the show, though. We're going to feature some new creators going forward. This one is Not a Slacker Anymore, the official remake from Undertale Last Breath, released in 2021, composed by Ben Lab and remixed by Onyx Cupcakes. So it's called the official remake because Ben Lab created the original music for Undertale Last Breath, and then Onyx Cupcakes went and kind of enhanced and remixed the Ben Lab stuff, and Ben Lab liked it so much that he made it the official soundtrack for the game. So let's take a listen to Not a Slacker Anymore. That was not a slacker anymore, the official remake from Undertale Last Breath, released in 2021, originally composed by BenLab, the creator of the AU, and remixed and remastered by Onyx Cupcakes, and this version of the song has become the official version that plays in the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just trying to make sure I got everything straight.
Yeah, you're fine.
Here, it's a big tangled web of Undertale stuff that we're spiraling through.
And
here.
one thing I did not notice, I've seen a lot of playthroughs of this game. I haven't played through it myself since it's one of the hardest AUs that I've seen, but one thing I didn't notice is that the Papyrus theme is in this.
Yeah, that kind of classic, like that kind of almost carnival-sounding theme
Yeah.
belongs to Papyrus, who is Sans' brother. Yeah. Sans is kind of mischievous and is kind so Frisk falls into the Undertale world from the real world at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
And then they meet Sans. Sans is kind of the shorter skeleton. He's a little chubby. He's got...
Somehow, he's a skeleton. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, who
but,
knows how that works. But he's a little mischievous. He likes to bend the rules. But Papyrus, his brother, is taller, skinnier, and is kind of like really by the books, but is also really, really like full of himself, kind of a narcissist.
Yes.
And thinks that he's like the best at everything in the world and constantly gets proven wrong.
Which the entirety of the Undertale community has actually agreed.
About what?
That Papyrus can do anything.
Yes, and nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
So they're kind of polar opposites of each other, which is kind of cool. So to have both of their themes in this track is kind of neat. 2, where Megalovania is kind of a very groovy, action-y kind of tune. The Papyrus theme is a little bit more silly. It's kind of cool, but it's got kind of a bouncy comedy kind of a groove.
Yeah.
I really liked how they combined those two themes in this track, for sure.
And a bit of lore about this game is that Sans got a bit sick of what you're doing after so many genocide runs that he decided to just try to end it all here, pulling out every stop, trying to get you to just quit the game. Because Sans, there's only a select few characters in the actual game that know that they're in a game.
Gotcha.
3 are Sans, Flowey, and Asgore, which Asgore knows slightly about it, but the other 2 they know, like, all about it.
Yeah, well, Flowey does certain things in the game to kind of change the rules of the game sometimes.
Yes.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Even in the neutral run, spoiler alert, Flowey takes over your save file, destroys it, and basically he's the final boss. Photoshop Flowey, also known as Omega Flowey, he can literally exploit the save files to basically try and kill you with them.
Wow. Is Photoshop Flowey from an AU or from the original game?
It's from the original game entirely.
Wow. Okay, see, I didn't play that far. I only played through once.
Yeah, that's the end of the neutral run.
When I played through, I didn't realize that there were different playthroughs. Like, if I started the game again, like, it would be different. I thought it would just be the same all over again. Because I tried to do the pacifist run my first time through, and I was like, why didn't it work?
Yeah, you can't do that.
Flowey got all mean and tried to kill me, and I was like, this doesn't feel like a pacifist run to me. My bad.
How did he try to kill you?
You had to fight it.
Fight Flowey, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Photoshop Flowey.
Okay, with the snarly teeth and all that?
Yeah, with the giant six-soul god being Omega Flowey.
See, I don't remember that.
It's Photoshop Flowey is literally made to mank you, like, uneased.
Okay.
He's literally 256-bit in a 16-bit game.
Thus why they call them Photoshop, because they don't have the same graphical capabilities as the rest of the game. Makes sense. All right, I think we're getting a little bit off track here. So yeah, as far as the story goes for Last Breath Sans, yeah, it's the 30th genocide run that he's had to deal with. So he remembers, so while your character and the other characters in the game might reset after every run and think it's the first time all over again.
Yes.
This version of Sans remembers every single time you've played. So this is the 30th
Sans
time.
himself knows when you reset, because even though he's not supposed to, it's canon that he knows that you can reset, save, and also change the course of what's going to happen in the future.
That's cool. It's kind of like fourth wall breaking.
Yes.
So that opens it all up.
And he also breaks the fourth wall so much times in the original game.
Yeah, speaking directly to the player. It's a fun game. Very, very well written. Breaks a lot of the tropes of regular RPGs, for sure. All right, so let's move on to our next track. This is Reality Check Through the Skull, the Hyperdust Sands theme from Dusttale, released in 2020. This is composed by DM Dokuro and contains elements of Megalovania and the song that might play when you fight Sans.
And that is the entire name, literally.
The song that might play when you fight Sans.
That's literally the name of the original soundtrack.
Originally composed by
Toby Fox.
Let's hit it.
we're back. That was Reality Check Through the Skull, Hyper Dust Sands' theme, from Undertale 2020. Also composed by DM Dokaru, contains elements of Megalovania and The Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans, both composed by Toby Fox.
Yeah, wow, this one's a trip.
Yeah.
It goes a lot of different places.
Just extremely different. There's no words you can use to describe it, just heavy on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the songs you pick kind of follow the Megalovania theme, which I don't blame you. It's an amazing song. It kind of leans into that, and then when it kind of pauses a little bit and you kind of get that little like digital slashy sound, then that's when it kind of moves into the Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans theme,
yeah,
and then glitches out completely. It goes quiet. Which
does actually almost crash your game there.
That's crazy.
It slows down the FPS to 0.5, and also nothing moves in that area, so you think your game actually crashed.
Interesting.
And then once the time passed to make the other theme play at the end, that's when the game starts up again, well, technically.
Yeah.
And will actually drop you straight into the fight, so be prepared.
Oh, that's
There are
pretty cool.
no checkpoints in that fight.
I like the way that it kind of uses the music to dictate how the game behaves. That's really neat. And you said, so the Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans is based on the fun meter?
Yes, the fun meter is a randomizer meter that can cause certain random things to make the game just that bit more fun. I'm going to name a few. There's one where you get a call from Alfie's that, well, she's trying to order a pizza, but she called the wrong number and ended up calling you.
That sounds like an Alfie's thing to do.
And then there's one where you can find Gaster in Waterfall, which is in a room. If you interact with him, he just disappears.
Interesting.
And then the Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans is also based on the fun meter. It's a 1 in 40 chance of happening, so instead of
Megalovania playing, that song will play instead?
Yes, and there will be no fight because, like, it's a different song. Megalovania is supposed to go with it.
Right.
So, like, when the bass drops on Megalovania, that's when the fight kicks up and actually starts being more hard. But when the Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans, when that plays, he just won't fight you. It's kind of rare, though. You have to play 40 playthroughs to get it guaranteed.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. 1 in 40 chance. That means, yeah, especially for a game that long, and when you only fight Sans like that one time, then...
Yeah. You get that, you're lucky.
Yeah.
You won't have to fight Sans.
So, can you tell me...
But also, that'll lead to the 6th Soul Asgore, which is also... It's like the normal Asgore fight, but instead of it being the second to final boss fight, it's the final boss fight.
Okay, I gotcha. So, what's like the whole concept behind Undertale, aside from the fun meter and what you just told me about?
Undertale is an AU where also, just like Last Breath, instead of like just trying to pull out all stops, going insane on you, he tries to get LV, which stands for level of violence. So basically, to get LV, you need EXP, which is execution points. Basically, you have to kill to get them. Mm-hmm. And the more execution points you have, the more your LV is. So he basically kills everyone left in the underground.
Holy cow. So it's a literal genocide run.
Yes.
That's insane. This one seems pretty dark.
It is, but it isn't as high quality as most AUs, since it was made a couple... Well, Hyperdust is made in 2020, which is a sequel to it, basically. It's an AU of an AU, so...
Oh, okay.
Basically a different timeline.
Gotcha. So it's like an alternate universe.
Yes. In the original, it was made, like, I believe, 2016? Late 2016 or something?
Right after the game came out?
Yeah. So there was, like, no high graphics, if you can say that. I don't know.
Yeah, so it was a very basic mod.
Yeah.
Basically. There weren't a lot of tools available, and there weren't a lot of graphic packs out to change a lot of things in the game. Makes sense.
The difference between normal Undertale and Hyper Undertale is that Hyperdust Sans has his brother Papyrus, who's now just a floating head with floating gloves and a scarf wrapped around nothing, helping him fight alongside.
That's what, Phantom Papyrus you called him?
Yes. For short, he's just Phantom.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
He has more moves than the actual Papyrus, since he's partnering up with Sans. He can now use Orange Bones, which Papyrus wasn't able to use before. Orange Bones are the opposite of Blue Bones.
I don't even remember those. Are those from the original game?
Blue attacks, you just have to stay still. Orange attacks, you have to move to not get hit.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the attack patterns when they are in the middle of battle. Okay, it makes sense. Yeah, the battles, if you haven't played Undertale, the attacks in the battles, instead of like a standard turn-based RPG where you just select your move and it attacks the character automatically, is like a little, almost like a bullet hell kind of a game in a small square in the middle, and you have a little heart in the middle of it that you can move around, and the other character will send attacks at you via either bones or like energy waves, and you have to basically dodge everything that they throw at you in this little square in order to not take any damage.
Yes, and the square can vary in shape.
Yeah.
It can become a rectangle, like a very elongated
Elongated?
Yes. A very elongated rectangle. Like, you can only move left and right for some attacks.
Yeah, it really kind of opens you up for a whole bunch of different types of attacks and stuff. Cool. All right, and I like the fact that in these AUs, they don't just change the storyline, they will also change how these characters attack you and stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, a little bit about DM Dokuro, the composer. Not too much information available. They are from the United States, the real name Omar Carlo, and I think they do a lot of work outside of Undertale, unlike a lot of the other composers that we've featured who like almost only specifically work in the Undertale universe, or like Five Nights at Freddy's. He's got like 30,000 followers on SoundCloud and have a whole bunch of different original songs and songs based on other games, so there's a whole lot to check out on his SoundCloud. If you liked this tune, you can go check out more stuff, and I'm sure there will be a whole bunch of stuff that you will enjoy as well. Moving on, this one is called Made in Heaven from Delta Myth. This was released in 2021. This was composed by Moonster. welcome back. That was Made in Heaven from Delta Myth, released in 2021, composed by Moonster. This was 2 parts, the intro called A Perfect Body, and then Made in Heaven is the actual track that comes afterwards. This one's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's the Deltarune version of Metaton EX's theme and intro.
So who's Metaton?
Metaton is the ghost who gained a body by Alphys. If you didn't know that Metaton was a ghost before, instead of always being a robot, them and Nabstablook, who is another ghost that you see in Ruins, who then appears again in Waterfall. They were both living side by side at Waterfall before.
And one became a
Basically,
robot.
they were just trying to become corporeal.
Okay. So one gets a robot body,
And yeah,
and the other one does not.
Nabstablook is still a ghost, I believe, even now. So if someone would make an AU where Nabstablook finally gets a corporeal body, I would gladly play that.
Yeah, then they can both be mechs and they can play Rock'em Sock'em Robot with each other. Knock each other's ghosts' heads off. This song is cool, though. It's got a great groove to it. I like the fact that it uses some actual piano sounds in there. It has a really, really fun tone. Metaton seems like a real kind of like charismatic game show host kind of a character.
Yeah, but also tries to kill you multiple times.
Well, you know, when you're charismatic, you can get away with that kind of stuff.
Fair.
Yeah. You were talking about, while we were listening to the tune, you were talking about flipping a switch on his back?
Yes. For the intro, also known as a perfect body in this one, that replaces Oh My, which when you flip Metaton's switch on their back, turning them into Metaton EX, which then goes into Made in Heaven or Death by Glamour.
Gotcha. So Metaton EX is like the deluxe version with leather seats and a sunroof.
Yes.
Yeah. Spicy rims.
Metaton
The luxury
EX.
car equivalent of a ghost mech.
Yes. Metaton EX is the more fun version, I guess, of Metaton. And then there's also Neo, the Neo version, which Spamton already has, and which also is the one that tries to kill you even more.
Oh.
But you can just one-shot them in the genocide run.
Gotcha. So everybody's out to kill you, basically.
Yeah.
It's more opportunity for more awesome battle themes.
Yeah.
All right, and let's move on to Hello World Fatal Error from Aftertale. There are so many AUs, it's ridiculous. This one came out in 2015. It was a comic based on the Undertale series, and there was a soundtrack that went alongside this comic. So this one's technically not VGM, but it's really good. This one was composed by Shara X.
we're back. This was Hello World, Fatal Error's theme from the Undertale comic, made in 2015, composed by Shara X.
I really like this one.
This
It's
one
cool.
is very, I guess, glitchy?
Yeah, I would call it that.
Yeah.
It's got like an industrial kind of a glitchiness to it. I like the little pauses when it goes, "Brow," and then the beat starts up again, and that happens like every couple of measures or so. It's a really cool effect. Plus, there's like little accordion sounds in there as well as all the other dancey stuff. So there's a lot of cool, unique sounds. I think this is an original composition too. It's not based on any of the other.
Yeah, no. This was completely original. And a bit of lore about this. Undertale was one where Sans basically takes, like, this is a genocide run, so Papyrus is dead. Sans sees that he died and turned to dust, so he picks up his scarf and gloves, puts them on, basically tries to avenge his brother dying. So he basically goes way harder on you than he normally would.
Gotcha. Okay, so he's out to avenge the death of his brother, more or less.
Yes. So, and then after he dies, he goes into the void, and then after a while, one of his eye sockets actually starts to melt away. So,
The void will do that to a person.
yeah.
I spent like a day in the void once and lost an ear. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it would do to Sans.
Because he has no ears, sadly.
So his eyes had to melt in its place, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also, to cover that up, he found the game files, took a white glitchy mess to cover it up, and basically turned into Geno Sans, which basically will come back to Snowden in replace of original Sans, and will fight you early on in the game after.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And so does he eventually become Fatal Error?
Yes. More and more deaths from him cause him to actually turn into Fatal Error, which also, I think, before turning into Fatal Error, he met Error Sans. So, well, also, Error Sans also gave him a bit of power since, he shouldn't die that much.
So Error Sans isn't an evolution of Geno Sans, it's a separate Sans.
Yes, Error Sans is the destroyer of irrelevant AUs.
Okay.
So basically, long story short, he turned into Fatal Error, which can now have special attacks. Before I talked about blue and orange bones, there's now purple and red bones that he can use.
Sheesh.
Red bones deal more damage and can take up an entire bar, like basically from the top to bottom or from the left to the right.
The whole battle square?
Yes.
As long as you can't avoid it?
Yes. The only way to avoid it is with the parry ability, which is from the, I believe, Cyan Soul. Cyan Soul is from a different human.
Gotcha. Wow. That's intense.
And the purple one is like blue, but same, you do have to parry it, but also you can't move. So it's basically a red and blue bone combined. Still does the extra damage, can take up an entire bar, but that one you have to parry and can't move at the same time.
That's crazy. So, listeners, I just want to let you know that Logan's not reading anything.
Nope, I just know this. Don't ask how.
Hey, when you like a series that much, you get really into the lore. I completely understand. I have never been able to do that well with stuff like this. But you ask me anything that you want to know about Twin Peaks, I can tell you. Which is just as weird as some of this Undertale stuff, to be honest with you. Anyways, that's really, really cool. I really, really like this song. Like we said, it's got some glitchiness to it, a little bit of an industrial feel. Shara X has been around for a long time. She does music based on different series, the Undertale and all the AUs, Team Fortress 2, and also Five Nights at Freddy's, as well as original tunes. She's got 10 plus years of FL Studio experience on her SoundCloud bio. And she does commissions every once in a while, but currently, at least according to her SoundCloud bio, they are closed right now. but really into remixing and creating original music based on the Undertale series, and never wants to stop. Yeah, pretty cool. So if you like this stuff, I will link to the SoundCloud. There's a lot more Undertale stuff that you can take a listen to. A lot of it from Underfell, Dusttale, Dreamtale, some of the other AUs that we may or may not be visiting as we go throughout the show. All right, man. Let's move on to our second to last track of the day. This is Royal Knight / Evil Papyrus theme from Undertale. Hey, we just mentioned Undertale.
Yeah.
This one was released 2015, so right after the original game came out. This was composed by Never Off, which means always on.
Yes.
Welcome back to our dive into the Undertale AUs here with Logan on the VGMbassy. That was Royal Knight, otherwise known as Evil Papyrus theme, from the AU Underfell, released in 2015, composed by the mysterious Never Off. Not much information available on them.
Couldn't find anything on their YouTube About page.
I have a ton of YouTube content, but not a whole lot in terms of who they are, where they come from, what their motivations are. They're just a music-making machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool song, though.
Yeah.
I like this one. It's very simple. It feels kind of like maybe just a regular MIDI composition, but I like that it has a cool groove. It feels more VGM than I think a lot of the other songs that we've played. It feels like a Super Nintendo song or something like that.
So, Underfell is, well, as the name suggests, they fell basically into darkness. Everything's all shady, sadistic, just all off from the normal game.
Creepy.
Yes.
Is it an actual game, or is it like...
It's an actual game, yeah.
Okay. I felt since it was like a 2015 release that it maybe wasn't... I don't know when the AU started popping up.
Around like a couple months after.
Oh, wow. That quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were popping up while I was playing the game, probably.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, so this is like a darker, grittier version of Undertale?
Yes. Everything is just all off about it. It's meant to make you feel off. So basically, you and Flowey decide to team up to actually bring happiness or to kill them all. There is no neutral run. You kill one person, your LV turns to 20.
Oh, okay. So it's all good or all bad?
Yes. There is no neutral.
Pass, fail.
Yes.
All right, so I guess you're just going to spam that spare button for the most part.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't really know much about the LV levels and all of that stuff when I played through the original.
Yeah. And also,
Undertale.
one thing about this is that Sans doesn't dodge. He actually wants you to kill him.
Interesting. That's pretty dark.
Yeah, all because of his brother, who he also calls boss since, well, he is the head of the Royal Guard.
Makes sense.
And Sans is not.
Correct. He's just the little bro.
Yes. Well, technically, he's always going to be older. I'm not sure if this is canon, but I believe that Sans is a bit over 100 while Papyrus is around 20. I'm not sure if that's canon, but
Wow.
I know that Sans is older.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he was older by that much. I
Yeah.
always thought that Papyrus was the older one.
Well, don't let height deceive you.
I guess not. Considering you're almost taller than your older brother at this point.
Yes.
You could be the Papyrus to Eddie's Sans. Anyways, yeah, no, this one is cool. Undertale seems like a neat AU, and like I said, Neveroff composed a whole bunch of music for it, but we don't know much about them, so I guess this will be a short break. We'll be moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
This is our last one of the show. What do we got, kiddo?
We got Forlorn, also known as Delve's Battle Theme from Undertale Yellow from 2016, composed by Master Sword Remix and arranged by My New Soundtrack.
Your new soundtrack.
My New Soundtrack.
Oh, cool. Let's give your new soundtrack a listen.
Welcome back. That was Forlorn, also known as Delve's Battle Theme from Undertale Yellow, made in 2016, composed by Master Sword Remix and arranged by My New Soundtrack.
Your new soundtrack.
My new soundtrack.
Beating a dead horse there.
Yeah. Kinda.
This is a cool tune. This is a good way to go out on the show. I think this is a lot brighter and kind of happier than some of the other stuff we've been listening to.
It's just happy. It's just a normal, fun theme.
Yeah, it feels very Undertale. It feels like one of those non-serious fights.
Yeah,
that
I believe
you're
this
like,
is one of the first ones.
Yeah, that you're not really in any danger of dying. You're either just kind of learning the rules of the game, or you're just going to spare them and kind of move on with the story and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know anything about Undertale Yellow. I do know that Master Sword Remix and My New Soundtrack are both pretty accomplished composers. Master Sword Remix has been making music forever and ever and ever. They are also the director and composer of Undertale Yellow, so they actually made the game, which I thought was really cool. My New Soundtrack has been around for ages. Real name Luis Saiz, also from Santiago, Chile. That must be a big Undertale community in Chile. And lots of remixes and lots of original tunes done in lots of different VGM styles, SNES, Genesis. He's even got some Zelda CDI remixes on his Bandcamp, as well as some N64 based stuff. So I've heard other My New Soundtrack releases, like not related to the Undertale universe, and they're always really super cool stuff. So go check them out for sure. But going back to Undertale Yellow, I know nothing about this one, so what have you found out?
So, in this game, we follow the human with the yellow soul, Clover, who basically,
Is that an original character for this series?
yes, Clover is the yellow soul in the original game.
Oh, okay.
He carries the unloaded gun.
I don't even remember that. Is that on a different playthrough?
It's always going to be unlockable. I don't remember where you get it, though. I believe it's like... I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I think it's from the Metaton Resort, though.
Gotcha. Probably something I never stumbled upon in my playthrough.
Yeah, it's a late-game item, but it is not good.
Well, if it's unloaded, I don't see how it could be that much use.
Because you hit people with it.
Just pistol whip them.
But yeah, the yellow soul is also justice. And also, Clover likes to dress up as a cowboy and carries a BB gun. Which also is the unloaded gun.
Makes sense to me.
Basically, in the game, the gun is loaded and can do small amounts of damage, but you basically upgrade it over time. You pair up with Flowey, who, well, I don't know much about this game. I know that it's like, they are basically in Old West times.
So it's kind of like a Western take on the Undertale universe? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Makes sense. You know anything about Dalv?
I don't know who that is, though. I believe it's one of the first people you fight in the game? I don't know.
Okay. So this is towards the end of the show because it's one of those alternate universes that has really good music, but you're not too experienced with.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. Cool. It sounds cool. I mean, it's got some great composers on the team, as well as Master Sword Remix, who seems to put out some quality stuff, so I'm assuming Undertale Yellow is probably pretty cool. But a lot of this stuff I'm kind of interested in checking more out about. And like I said, of course, you can always go back to the VGMbassy.com, check out the show notes for this episode, and find Bandcamp, YouTube, SoundCloud links to all of the composers that we've featured, because a lot of these folks are just making music either for free or for donations or for, the small amount that they're charging on Bandcamp. So supporting them in any way you can will help them be able to create more music to expand the Undertale universes that they're helping create, and motivating them to create more new cool stuff and buy new equipment and make even better music. Mm-hmm. Yep. Logan, you make a ton of money, so I'm sure you're donating left and right. Get a job.
No.
You 12-year-old. No, but I'm really cool, or I'm really glad that we could do this show. I also am really cool.
It sounds like you are a lot alike with the Great Papyrus.
Yes.
Who also thinks he's really cool.
I'm super cool and the best VGM podcaster in the world. As I stumble over all my words.
Just a little bit of ego, though.
So, wrapping up, which AU would you say is your favorite?
I gotta go for like Dust Tail or Last Breath. Both of them are really good.
Cool. I really like the concept of VHS Sans, so
yeah,
I'm kind of down with that stuff. Do you have a favorite song from the show?
From this right now, probably I gotta go for like Fatal Error's theme or the Royal Knight.
Yeah. Fatal Error's theme I think was my favorite too, and the Royal Knight was good too. I mean, like I said, that felt the most like regular video game music. Well, that one and this one, Forlorn, feels a lot like regular quote-unquote video game music to me. So I really appreciate those as well. I do want to check out some more of these AUs. Maybe at some point we'll come back for a sequel episode, or if you get super into another series of video games that have good soundtracks, we can bring you back on and we'll talk about some more stuff. That'd be pretty sweet. Or you can play the Undertale and Mother 3 games, and we could do a show on those at some point. I think you'd like them a lot, especially if you like Undertale. So, wrapping up, I would love to thank Indira J for the art and Trevin Hughes for the podcast theme song. You can check us out on Discord by going to thevgembassy.com and clicking on the Discord link on the side of the page. That is the main central hub for all things VGMbassy. We've got a collection of ripped VGM there that you guys can download to your heart's content. We've got, I think, like 20 gigs worth of MP3s of VGM music in that collection there so far. And then channels to talk about off-topic stuff, talk about the show, talk about video game music, talk about Twin Peaks, talk about any sort of industrial music, which is another one of my big hobbies. And you can also talk about movies, anime, TV shows. We've got channels for everything and a whole bunch of great people to hang out with. You can also go to patreon.com/thevgembassy and check out all of our Patreon tiers. For as little as $1 a month, you get a special bonus show called VGM Primetime. It's usually between like 15 minutes and a half an hour, but it's an extra third podcast that we do every month just for Patreon subscribers. Usually it's an offshoot of whatever podcast we're doing on the VGMbassy that month. So last month I did an interview with Joe, who did the Creepypasta FM episode with me. The one before that, I did some extra music from the Sega CD chiptune. So for number 3, I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're recording this well ahead of release of the actual show, like a full month before. So Logie, maybe you and I want to get together and maybe maybe I'll share some Mother 3 and Earthbound music with you. You can kind of talk about that for a little bit. Or some original Undertale soundtracks. You can pick some of your favorite stuff from the original Undertale soundtrack.
Yes.
Would that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we'll come back, and that'll be releasing around the same time as this show does, in the middle of November. And, of course, we'll have another Embassy exclusive coming out in about 2 weeks, where my buddies Joe and Todd and I get together to talk about gaming topics, the latest news in gaming, and our ridiculously determined opinions on both.
Determination.
Filled with determination. Speaking of determined, I am determined to thank all of my Patreon patrons by name at the end of every show, starting at the tourist level. Cameron Childs and the Phantomire, our VGM series, Alan aka Periodical, Chris Murray, Chris Myers, Ganon11, Keyglyph, Kyle Kroll, The Dyad, The Last Recon, and Professor Tom, our audio attaché members, Cam Worma, Carlos, Scott McElhone, and our special agent, Ryan Steele. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the show, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Say bye, Logie.
See ya.
Thanks for being on the show. I had fun.
Same.
Good.